My name is Helene Karjaru, and I'm joined tonight by two really special ladies who are both Women of Truth Inner Circle members. These are two business owners with a difference. Tonight you'll learn about their captivating stories. You'll listen to some very touching examples of how they liberated themselves from both societal and family-based expectations. And it's really an opportunity for us to witness the great transformation that's possible when a woman decides to follow her authentic voice, discover who she truly is, and actually begin to strip back, take away all these layers that prevent her from becoming and being who she's meant to be here in the world as her greatest version of herself. I'm going to introduce to you first Reina Patan. Reina is actually a holistic therapist and a transformational speaker, and she runs an organization called Natural Healing and Health. And this is really based on her passion for natural healing methods, organic styles of living, and also a very strong, passionate interest to work with women and help them recover from various types of struggles, challenges, and traumas. Welcome to Reina Patan. Thanks, Reina, for joining us tonight on this Women of Truth broadcast.
Thank you very much.
So next is Reina Patan, and Reina is a interesting version of a human rights lawyer because she's somebody who has set up an NGO that actually is called Empower Beyond Boundaries. She's a mentor, speaker, and facilitator. And this NGO focuses quite strongly on supporting women to go beyond very specific limitations, struggles, and challenges that they might have. And she's had an extensive history in working in immigration as a human rights caseworker, in the criminal justice system as an officer, in immigration, asylum, and human rights. She specialized in that area, and of course then again in immigration and human rights lawyer services. She was really learning from all these different expressions how to actually offer what she does now to many different women in her Empower Beyond Boundaries. Welcome to you, Reina. Lovely to have you here too with Women of Truth.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a great honor working with the two of you, and I know many people are still learning about the really great link that can happen between setting up your business and or having a movement or an NGO or an organization that you would like to have make an impact in the world, and how to actually monetize that and also have a kind of thriving experience in being a woman that is made for more, or a woman who's here to wake up the world. And both of you are these kinds of women. So tonight we have this wonderful opportunity where we can showcase some of these really profound insights that have brought you to this place where you can offer and serve the world as you do with the wisdom and insights you've gathered on your own journeys. And we'd love to hear from both of you your own personal stories. So I know you have prepared a presentation for us, and I think it would be an amazing opportunity for everybody to listen to what you've prepared for us, and then we can have a little bit of interaction at the end of both of these speeches where we might share with people some details and explain maybe more about what really led you to prepare this presentation the way you have. So let's start off with Reina. If you can bring us into your world. You've prepared something for us called The Truth Hurts Less Than Secrets. And I understand that this is a very important piece that really talks about revolutionizing women's health from secrets that they may have had on sexual trauma or sexual abuse history. So the floor is yours, Reina, and we'd love to hear what you want to share with us tonight.
Wonderful. Thank you once again. So the title is The Truth Hurts Less Than Secrets. Secrets are a common condition, just as breathing is to us humans. However, secrets can be a heavy burden that we bear. What is most interesting is that eventually most secrets are revealed, either deliberately or accidentally. And certain secrets are taken to our grave. The average person has 13 secrets, and 5 of these will never be revealed. Women confide their secrets more than men. This is according to Michael Slepian, the psychologist and business professor from the Columbia Business School, who dedicated the last decade to the study of secrets. And did you know that the soul has no secret that the behavior does not reveal? As quoted by famous Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu, secrets slowly gnaw away at us, and the silencing of them can weigh heavily on us, physically, mentally, and emotionally. There was a secret that I could never reveal until I was 45 and developed a serious frozen neck, which inspired me to dig deeper after realizing the incredible effect it had had on my life. Tonight, I shared with you my gripping secret tragedy and the touching story of 2 people very close to me. I hope to convince you too, so you can choose to live without secrets. As a 3-year-old, I was a happy, cheerful little girl, loving to be in nature, outdoors with my pets, listening to the birds and playing on my recorder. My mother was extremely ill at the time, almost anorexic, taking care of my younger brother who was seriously ill, and she had the home to take care of. My separate father would come home from work, be treated like a king and served, and assist by teaching me nursery rhymes, or so it seemed at the time. From a happy little talkative child, I became withdrawn as I grew up, very quiet, serious, preferring to be in my own company than the company of others. When I reached puberty, my father belted me black and blue due to my insolence, apparently. Of course, my mom and brother heard my cries, but were too afraid to intervene. At 16, eventually I had the courage to stand up to him, but by then the damage was already done. I had no more respect for him and had grown to hate him. I would deliberately avoid hugging him, sitting on his lap, or even kissing him goodnight. Unfortunately, I never experienced the loving, healthy relationship of a father-daughter. At 18, my first love of 3 years turned out to be a copycat of my father. He too became violent, was controlling, extremely jealous, and on 2 occasions lifted his hand to me, but then profoundly apologized. And me, of course, at that time believed him, hoping he would change. Until the night we were out publicly, and in one of his rages he slapped me and almost strangled me to death. That was the final straw. However, it took me a court order to get him out of my life, as he continuously harassed me, both at work and at home. That did the trick, and he stayed out of my life forever. At 21, when I inherited money from my grandfather, most would buy a car. But me, for some reason, I decided to have rhinoplasty, a nose job. I couldn't bear looking in the mirror and seeing my separate father's big nose on my face and being reminded of the trauma of my childhood. So about 25 years later, in 2016, one morning, I awoke with a serious frozen neck. As a holistic practitioner, I knew that this was due to an emotional trauma, lack of support in my life. So immediately I sought psychological help to overcome the root cause. And this took me on a deep, dark journey of my soul, where I discovered that my physical pain was due to an unhealthy childhood, an unstable childhood, and a family that was dysfunctional. At the age of 45, after doing intense personal work, it was revealed that I was continuously sexually abused by my father from the age of 3 until puberty. Unfortunately, my childhood was robbed and I could never get it back. But I made a promise to myself that from that day forward, I would make the rest of my life the best of my life. So on the 31st of December 2018, I finally had the courage to face my mother and share my sexual abuse. It was both traumatizing, emotional, but also very liberating to be supported, but most importantly, to be seen and be heard. And through this brave act of sharing my deep, dark tragedy, it had actually inspired my mother to share a secret of her own, one that she had kept for over 60 years. That's right, 60 years. More than 3/4 of her lifetime. I was totally unprepared for what she was then about to reveal to me. At the age of 15, while waiting at a bus stop, she was abducted by 4 guys in a car, gang raped and kept overnight. The following day, when she returned home, her German father belted her for missing the previous night, as in those days it was unacceptable for a girl unmarried to not be at home. So she, of course, decided to silence herself, believing that no one would ever believe her, and kept the secret for 60 years. So through the courage of me opening my heart and speaking my truth, it gave her the space to do the same, to heal her trauma, her deep, dark secret that she had been carrying for so many years. And she too was liberated. Secrets definitely do affect our lives and its outcome. My stepsister was abused by her father as a child and raped regularly by her brother as a teenager. At the age of 19, her first love was lost in a tragic car accident, and she was 19 at the time and pregnant, unemployed. So of course she had to give up her beautiful little baby daughter for adoption. And the clause was that she was never to reconnect with her ever again. So this, of course, had a traumatic result on both her mental health and physical being. She could never commit to relationships or hold a steady job. She was put on various drugs to help her mood swings, panic attacks, and rages. At the age of 57, she experienced a mild stroke, which left the right side of her face slightly damaged. From then on, she received a benefit from the government and lived in hostels, finding odd jobs here and there, until she eventually reconnected with her sister and moved there to live with her on her farm for 2 years and found some happiness with her. On the day of her sister's daughter's birth of a child, my stepsister had a serious stroke. She was hospitalized as it had paralyzed the whole side of her right body. A deep trauma had obviously been ignited within her. The emotions of her giving her daughter up for adoption and never being able to see her. Unfortunately, she passed the following day at the age of 60. Her story was never revealed. She never shared it with anyone except to my mom, who shared it with me. So I thank you today for giving me this honor to share her story with you. Only when our desire to heal is greater than our fear can our truth set us free. The two areas in which secrets affect us are first our health, like my mother and I, who for over half our lifetime suffered with physical pain due to our tragic secret. And the second is relationships, like my stepsister, who took her story to her grave with her. My secret tragically affected me over half my lifetime, with low self-esteem, lack of confidence, never being able to trust men, and the lack of being able to communicate clearly due to my silencing. I suffered until my mid-40s with serious tonsillitis and would bite my nails down to the skin, never knowing why, until my deep, dark secret was revealed. We all have a story. We all have a secret, or 2 or 3 or 13, as Michael Slippian, the psychologist, says. Secrets affect us either through holding on to the wounds of them by the pain and suffering, or choosing to focus on the wisdom of the experience. It takes bravery and courage to unravel the deep wisdom, which can be done through courage and commitment to healing and forgiveness, of course, because only then can you completely liberate yourself. The top 3 benefits of revealing your secrets is that when you let go and share your secret, you're letting go of your burden. And secondly, when you share your story, you're sharing part of yourself, and you're helping and encouraging someone else to do the same. And the third is that when you open up to someone you truly trust, the connection becomes a huge benefit for you both psychologically. Our behavior definitely affects our lives and our health. And this is why it is extremely vital to no longer hold onto secrets, because we need to revolutionize the future of women's health. Absolute health is our new wealth. Are you aware that 120 million young girls and women under 20 suffer some form of sexual contact, and over 1 billion children under the age of 17 suffer some form of violence, resulting in 40,000 deaths, according to the World Health Organization for 2020 statistics. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men have been sexually abused in their lives. Since the COVID pandemic in 2019, there has been 100% increase in sexual abuse and domestic violence. So the time is now to open the discussion regarding the unspoken repercussions of trauma regarding sexual abuse and domestic violence. By educating ourselves, our families, our loved ones, our children, our community, so we can reduce these appalling figures. We can all be part of this solution. This is my call to all women who have been subjected to any form of violence, to no longer fear, to no longer be in silence, to no longer keep the secret that's slowly damaging them mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually day by day. Truth is our only liberation. Reach out to me to learn more about the amazing worldwide project, My Body is My Body program. Now working in collaboration with the Global Goodwill Ambassadors of Cyprus. So you too can learn how you can educate children's body safety into making a healthier society for all. Only when our desire to heal is greater than our fear can our truth set us free. Thank you all for your time and your presence and support and giving me this opportunity to share tonight. I'd like to say a great thank you to my wonderful husband, Andrea, of 26 years, who's been the rock in my life, loving and supporting me on my journey of ups and downs, and being the first example in my life of the good men in this world. And last but not least, to the Women of Truth, who have played an extremely important role in my journey of healing and recovering, and offering me this opportunity, this platform, to be the voice for the voiceless, so I can share how I transformed my deep traumatic tragedy, the secret of my darkest night of my soul, and used it to create a powerful, positive passion, so I can inspire and encourage others who've had similar experiences, that they too can achieve the life they truly desire by speaking up, being heard, being visible, and being supported. We need to make a healthier society for all children, for they are the future generation. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Helena. It's a very, very powerful and important message for us all, and to know that there are people around going through these kinds of journeys, coming out the other side, and actually being able to speak on behalf of others is very touching and very supportive. So thank you so much for all that you're doing for that. And we're going to hear now from Reina Patan with her speech entitled "She is Chai in a Whiskey Bottle," all about finding yourself beyond society's expectations. The floor is yours, Reina.
Thank you very much, Helene. And Helena, I just want to say what an incredible, powerful speech. And I'm sure that you have touched many people, and there will be many people who will watch that, who will have the courage that they were looking for to really come forward and speak out. So thank you so much. But good afternoon, everyone, or good evening. It's almost evening here in the UK. I recently saw a quote which said, "She is chai in a whiskey bottle." And this idea of being chai in a whiskey bottle really, really resonated with me. And this is why. Let me ask you this. How many of us have grown up feeling conflicted with who we truly are? That our identity is not chosen by us, but rather we are labeled, molded, and made to fit in. And that you, like me, have also felt like chai in a whiskey bottle, living a double life, unsure of how to come out and express who you truly are. This idea of being boxed to fit in with what is acceptable and what is not acceptable is something that I grappled with internally for most of my life. Are we the result of our conditioning, or is there a deeper connection to who we truly are? You see, as a child, I learned to view the world from a perspective of what I was taught, or rather who I was taught to be. And that was that as a girl child, we are essentially born a curse. We're taught to be seen and not to be heard. A study by the Asian Center of Human Rights highlighted that female infanticide, which is the killing of a girl child, either at birth or prior, continues to be practiced across many Asian cultures. And to think that that's a thing and a practice that's still happening in 2021 is absolutely shocking. Let me break it down for you. In many cultures, being born a female is viewed as a curse or an omen. And so we're raised like prisoners in conformity to certain rules. Well, what this means is that in communities like the one I was raised in, anything outside of conforming to those rules had severe consequences. And so we learn to fit into a box and follow rules in order to survive. So what did that look like for many of us? Well, it looked like not being able to wear certain clothing or revealing clothing, and to act and sit like a good girl, to not bring shame on the family name, to behave in certain ways that were classed or termed decent, to not have opinions of our own, needs, beliefs of our own, to not be spoken unless you're spoken to limit your potential, to put the needs of your male counterparts before you, and not embody your sexuality, your sensuality, learn how to be a good wife someday, and then a good mother. Basically, to be invisible. And so that's what I did. But you see, what I came to realize in my journey and through my personal and professional experience was one thing, that my experiences were not limited to my cultural upbringing, and that as women, we all have experienced a sense of being made to fit into boxes, whether that's in our personal lives or whether that's in our professional lives. A study by Cornell and Washington State University showed that women underestimate their confidence and their potential. The study went on to show and highlight that young girls are more likely to lose their sense of self-confidence when compared to young boys when it comes to assessing their results and how well they have done. And similarly, women are less likely to apply for job roles and promotions that they fully qualify for when compared to their male counterparts who perhaps don't have the equal qualifications or expertise. Well, this brings me to question why. Is it because as women there are unrealistic standards that are placed on us that lead us to cave into the pressure to be accepted in accordance with society's expectations? Or is it because we learn from a young age to fit into boxes that others create for us to survive? Is it because we are critical on ourselves? And if we are, where has this self-criticism come from? Because in the process of learning what the standards of acceptability are for us, what happens is we lose a sense of our true self. And while the standards of acceptability across the board and across the globe are by far different for women as they are for men, as women, we are also guilty of this. We put pressure on ourselves. We guilt trip. We overlook our intelligence, our skills, personality, diversity, but most importantly, our individuality. My quest to finding myself outside of this box was not the same as Julia Roberts in Eat, Pray, Love, let me tell you that. It took a tragedy in my life for me to embark on my journey. You see, at 20 years old, the world was my oyster. Coming from a conservative Muslim South Asian family, I was raised for the majority of my life with a father who dipped in and out of my life and a single mother. I learned very early on of the importance of being able to stand on my own 2 feet. And by 20, I had already pushed past a lot of cultural barriers. You see, I say this with pride that, and let me contextualize this for you, in fact, because I was the first woman in my family to receive a high school education, a university degree, a postgrad education, and to have a professional job. I made my way to the best law school in the country in my quest for helping other women who had also experienced a violation of their rights like myself. But at 20 years old, the ground below me shook, and I fell to the pits of the earth. I was sexually assaulted by a family member, an uncle, someone I loved, trusted, and saw as a father figure in my life. I knew at the time that coming out about this would bring shame to my family and to my family's honor. And I knew that the consequences that I would have to pay would be very grave. Yet, I defied all cultural norms, and I stood against the noise of the people around me telling me to let it go. And I pursued a police complaint, was dragged through the shame of it all in a courtroom, only to have a guilty verdict. But the battle for me didn't end there. It had only just begun. For someone that comes from a community that doesn't speak about internal abuse, and where the importance of family relations is placed above all, my family didn't know how to support me. Instead, the pressure of maintaining family relations, conforming to cultural norms, forgiving and brushing it under the carpet was all placed on me, and I was once again pressured to fit into a box. Until 4 years later, I had had enough. And I decided that I wanted something different for myself. But to get that, I knew that I would have a very heavy price to pay if I pursued what I truly wanted. Freedom. Freedom from the rules, freedom from conformity, from the woman that I was molded to become, from the noise and the chaos within. And I did pay a heavy, heavy price for that. I walked away from everything I knew, my family, my community, my father who I yearned to have a relationship with. It required me to finally and fearfully, yet bravely, step outside of the box that had defined who I was, and to step into the light, breaking cultural norms once again, ending cycles of generational abuse, defying everything that I was taught for 25 years, stepping outside of a box that had defined me for nearly 25 years. It was then that I really began to realize that all my life I had been chai in a whiskey bottle. I had been conditioned to form a belief of who I was in a box. And I then realized that the sense of loss of who I am outweighed any price that I had to pay. And that in order to heal and rediscover myself and find my freedom, I had to pour out the old. Walking away from my family to start afresh taught me something very profound, because for the first time in my life, I was left barren. I had no protection, no support system, no guidance. I was depressed, suicidal, anxious. The chaos within me was very real. I battled with ideas of right and wrong of what I was taught. Who was I to be in this world? Who was I without the conditioning? Who am I outside the box? Rumi says, out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. Where the soul lies down in the grass, the world is too full to talk about. Every step in my rediscovery taught me one profound lesson: that there is a power within me that kept me going. And if I could just muster the relationship that I have with that power, I knew that I would see myself on the other side into the field where my soul lies. It was then that I received an impulse to start my organization, Empower Beyond Boundaries, to support women like myself, the chais in whiskey bottles, the ones of us that never fit in, the ones of us who are still figuring it out, that are traumatized by generational cycles, that have had boundaries placed on us our entire lives. Those of us that have felt unwanted and unheard, unworthy and unloved. But most importantly, those of us who have wanted different. A sense of freedom and bliss from within. Today, we are a global initiative dedicated to transforming the lives of girls and women that have experienced abuse, neglect, trauma, oppression, and a violation to their rights. Our mission is to provide women and girls with opportunities to embark on their journey of healing, self-development, reconnecting with themselves, so that they can transcend into their visionary self and rebuild and create the transformational change that they want to see in their lives. We offer a range of programs and workshops and support you in your quest through the entire process. So, if listening to my story today, you have also felt like you have been boxed and are ready to step out, to heal from past traumas, to stop letting them define you, and to rediscover who you are outside of the box, then I invite you to contact me to join our one-to-one programs, our free workshops, or our group programs, and take the first step to embarking on your journey towards healing and rediscovering yourself, to finding your freedom outside of the box. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Reina, for again a very important message, and again such a personalized journey of transformation that informs all of what you've told us. And this title is definitely something that I think people are going to be thinking about for a while, is what it feels like to be chai in a whiskey bottle. Both of you have brought to light some very important generational trauma stories that we've heard about for many, many years. And both of you obviously have had this experience of sexual assault and the different degrees of that. And there's often so many questions about why we have the kind of long road to recovery that can sometimes be months, and in many cases years, and very often, more often than people realize, decades. And this has been one of the biggest contesting factors to people wanting to acknowledge the impact of sexual abuse trauma. And I wanted to just make a note of it here and to give people confirmation that it's taken years for both of you to come to terms with this experience and how it's changed who you are. And then, of course, maybe even a decade or so to get to a point where you can actually stand and speak about this outwardly to the community. So thank you for demonstrating that. It's such an important point to be making, is that it takes a while for us to really find ourselves after something very troubling has happened, and when it's a sexual abuse history or sexual assault, it can be really defining on your value and your confidence as a woman, if it's obviously happening across gender. So both of you had this theme of betrayal from your families. Maybe you can both just tell us, what was the resounding reason that you chose to forgive your families for what happened? Helena.
Thanks. That was amazing, Reina. Thank you so much for sharing your incredible story. For me personally, Helenique, I came to the realization that if I didn't forgive my father, I would be holding on to that anger, which would be eating away at me for the rest of my life. There's actually a Buddhist quote that inspired me that said something like, when you hold on to anger, it's like you're holding on to a coal, and the only person that you're burning is yourself. And that was very profound in my decade of transformation, which led me into creating my natural healing and health, where I did many different kinds of courses and healing sound therapies that brought me to where my major transformation happened. And yes, forgiveness truly does set us free. And the amazing Ho'oponopono prayer, that's extremely powerful, is something I came across as well. That's helped me too, where you repeat 4 sentences. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And that is just a very simple way of just working through forgiveness, not needing to point fingers at anyone, but just to allow that healing process to take place and heal the deeper emotions that we can't always put into words. And that's why, to me personally, I found the sound healing and the chanting extremely helpful in my healing journey to clear that deeper forgiveness and trauma that is held in our body cells. It's been proven by research by Dr. Joe Dispenza, if I remember correctly, about how the emotions are stored in our cells, and when we don't release them, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, they can form into dis-ease and sometimes something more serious in our bodies. So I've come to understand that, and that's brought me to a deeper connection with myself and my body, and being more in tune with myself. And through that forgiveness process, it kind of rippled into other areas and other relationships in my life. So yeah, it's an extremely important part of the healing process, forgiveness.
And Reina, what would you say?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Helena said. Forgiveness is absolutely key. What I will say, it's funny how we're talking about forgiveness, because someone asked me this question today. And what I said to her is, you forgive when you're ready, right? You don't forgive because someone has told you, and you don't forgive because people say that forgiveness is important in your healing journey. I recognize that I healed a lot before I was ready to forgive, because through the healing I was able to understand, right? And I was able to appreciate that. And this is very deep level healing that has taken place for me to say this, that, and Helena will resonate, without those experiences, I would not be the woman I am today, and I would not be doing the work that I am today. And I recognize that there are some of us that have to go through a lot of pain and push through that to come out on the other side and be able to then pull others through as a guiding force. So, I will say that for me, the healing came from understanding that. And I think, for me, it was, who am I fighting? Am I fighting a cultural mindset? am I fighting my family? You know, am I fighting a community? It was really for me to understand, who am I fighting? Because for a long time I had a lot of anger in me. Why can't people understand this? Why can't people understand? But it was through letting go of the external making people understand and just focusing on my own healing journey that I came to really come at a point of forgiveness, and to recognize that it's difficult to change the mindset of an entire community, but what I can do is I can change the life of one person at a time, right? Because one person equals one generation after that. So that was really a shift for me. But I will say that for anyone watching this, you know, you have to heal and forgive in your own time, you know, but you have to, like Helena said, you have to want it for yourself bad enough. And that's what I will say is common between Helen and I. We wanted to heal bad enough. You know, we both paid a heavy price to do that. And a very deep price to do that. But you have to want it for yourself, because otherwise the forgiveness is not going to follow through.
Thank you so much to both of you. It's been very significant to spend this time with you on this topic. I know we will be weaving together our themes for the revolutionizing of women's health in the rest of the year, with some more masterclasses on these Monday nights with another 4 experts. And we use this time today in the Women of Truth Assembly as a marking point for these 2 very important topics that really we wanted to hear from survivors and women tell it in their own words, the very important journey that they've made to restore health and wellness to their own bodies, minds and souls. And I think the true gift of any challenging experience in life is the deep teaching it brings us to learn how to forgive and how to understand the bigger picture of consciousness that comes out of pain and suffering. So you've demonstrated that so beautifully with us today, and it stands inside of this conversation of women's health, because we do have to find ways to accept, resolve, and transform all the different things that happen in a woman's life that can compromise her health. And so today we make a very important message altogether here, that sexual abuse, trauma, and sexual assault, and any kind of identification or what we call objectification of the human body as a place to dump pain or violence or misuse of power is not just a crime in a court of law, but it is also a very important act that starts to disrupt the health of that person. And so we need to begin to see that as a health issue, not just as a legal issue or as a point of debate, as I think it's been done very much in the past. And then, of course, even as something that we bury and hide away. So talking about it, hearing you and how you've begun to talk about it, seeing you talk about it to audiences, and for us to be positioning it as a health issue is really our mission altogether. So anybody watching this video, if you have something more to say or something to share or something to inform others about in the same area of topics and themes, you're very welcome to reach out to us or to Helena or to Reina, and to actually take the conversation further with either of them. Come back to our masterclasses where we start to talk about the inner wisdom inside of us with Dr. Francesca Richardson. We'll be looking at cannabis and how it really is used intravenously to deal with gynecological and sexually related women's issues with Tanya Bagar, a professor. And we will also be talking with Dr. Tatiana Trauskova, which is a holistic health doctor, who will be talking to us about integrative health and holistic health. And then we have Pat Alva Kraker, who's actually really bringing us a final message about how to look at alignment in who we are in the inside and how we project that out on the outside as a form of maximizing and optimizing health, both now and for the future. I thank you all for witnessing this beautiful moment where we speak out against holding secrets in the journey of sexual abuse, trauma recovery, and in the way that we manage the society and the expectations society has of us in the story we heard today about how sometimes we do have to make a stand, and we have to stand for what we truly believe is our truth, and that will sometimes fly in the face of what others think is right or wrong. So courage for you to take up your own journey and step into your own truth. Thank you so much to Helena Yoryu and to Reina Patan for being wonderful spokespeople for this journey that many women are still taking and many will still take. And for all of you that have already, we honor you and we bow down to your courage and service to actually bring us all to a higher level of accountability, integrity, and consciousness for the future.